alone. You can die in these streets all alone.
Yeah, baby. Shit's about to jump off. Waiting for the bus, bringing my man from up north. Been like 3 years when he got knocked. Since he got caught, pumped up like 5 new blocks. Hold it down for. Kept a nigga straight with money on the books. It ain't bitches, it's crooks who look out for other crooks. Took him shopping, money in his pocket, he straight. Dropped them off at the wife crib after we ate. Out of state was the next move for me. Had to make that nigga chill for at least 2 to 3 months. Cause once it's on, it's on. He didn't care. It's like, slow down, baby. The money ain't going nowhere. Keep in touch though, to show how much your ass is with it. The dope flow is there, and in a minute you can get it. You got to watch a nigga just coming home in his game. Cause on the low, he might be trying to go against the grain.
I got chrome and paint. Nigga, what you think? I got chrome and paint. Bitch, what you drink? I got chrome and paint. Smoking that dank in my chrome and paint. Street light, dance on paint. Street light, dance on chrome. Street light, get a nigga home. You can die in these streets all alone. I am the wrong nigga, too fucking grown nigga to go for that nigga. I ain't your whole nigga. I got a hair trigger. I am the dome splitter, the DC sniper. You got the wrong niggas. Retire like Jigger. Here comes the Attila, the Hun, killing niggas for fun. These rappers is done. The bigger they come, the harder they fall. I burn like the sun. Continue to ball. He's got nuts and plus the Don touch. The split your fine Dutch. Starsky call Hutch. He's laid with some sluts up in some guts. Just back in the cut. He thinks he's King Tut. Can't fuck this nigga up. Cause just the nigga look that niggas really love him and tear the city up. Even though I'm fucking with the po-po. Them nigga know how I act in a low-low. I got chrome and paint. Nigga, what you think? I got chrome and paint. Bitch, what you drink? I got chrome and paint. Smoking that dank in my chrome and paint. Street light, dance on paint. Street light, dance on chrome. Street light, get a nigga home. You can die in these streets all alone.
I decapitate my enemies, no agape for most of them. Hesitation and patience, I'm running out of both of them. Set sail, smash the champagne on the side of it. I'll Titanic you niggas. Iceberg, I hit you with the Mossberg. Sawed off nicely in a white tee. Point blank range, politely squeeze, this excites me. I'ma live by the bullet till it bites me. I'm doing life, how come mama never writes me? Israel keys, take time, so meticulous. Thicker than thieves, intelligent speed. My agenda is the flashbacks, cold sweat, stress from the BTS. Fuck what you saying, motherfucker, say it with your chest. You're being held for ransom. Citizens are demands, 100 million untraceable euros wrapped in plastic bags. Cause you playing with your life. If you think I'm thinking twice, now you walk into the light.
Street light, I got chrome and paint. Nigga, what you think? I got chrome and paint. Bitch, what you drink? I got chrome and paint. Smoking that dank in my chrome and paint. Street light, dance on paint. Street light, dance on chrome. Street light, get a nigga home. You can die in these streets all alone. Street light.
Look at me now, hopping out the same cherry 6'4" with the motherfucking top down. I'm the game, nigga. Call your bitch, she ain't home, she was game, nigga. Remember that Dre? You passed me the torch, I lit the chronic with it. Now the world is my ashtray. Riding 3-wheel motion to the ass scrape. Turn sunset into a motherfucking drag race. Now watch it bounce. Hit the switch, let it bounce to the police, shut the shit down. That's my gangster bitch. And like Crips and Bloods, I'm in the club on some gangster shit. So nigga twist. It's a new day. And if you ever knew Dre, motherfucker, you would say I was the new Dre. G thing, baby, it's a G thing. Bounce like you got hydraulics in your G-string. I fuck a different bitch 7 days a week.
I got chrome and paint. Nigga, what you think? I got chrome and paint. Bitch, what you drink? I got chrome and paint. Smoking that dank in my chrome and paint. Street light, dance on paint. Street light, dance on chrome. Street light, get a nigga home. You can die in these streets all alone.
I reminisce on dangerous summers. Was just a thug nigga working for thug niggas. A neighborhood runner by the age of 13. We was gunning and it was fun to see the police running. Niggas disappear when we come and live. Nappy hair shorty.
Alright. Thanks for hopping on, guys. All right, Wednesday, finally. We're gonna go over some trades that we've been sharing in the previous session. We're gonna mark up some charts for the next or the second half of the week. First little disclaimer, this is not financial advice, this is for your education purpose only, so you can build a framework around your trading and basically just be small, be humble, focus on the long term, and do not risk money you cannot afford to lose. Trading is not a sprint, it's a marathon, right? First try on a demo account. Once you gain some confidence in your strategy, whether it's my strategy or if it's a strategy that you created yourself or a strategy that you learned from someone else, doesn't matter, right? First gain some confidence in that strategy, make sure you can rely on it. Yeah, and that's it. And then go to a small account or go to a funded account. You have more than one prop firms, right? Prop firm is where you pay a small fee for a challenge, and once you basically pass that challenge, then you will receive a big amount or a big amount capital, right? A big account where you can make a lot of profits a lot faster than you can make with your own capital, right? Without risking your own capital, or at least that much of capital, right? So be small, be humble, and focus on the long term. That's the most important thing. So let's hop on the charts. Let's see if we can. Yeah, here we are. So this is AUD CAD. We shared this trade this morning. We are seeing some very good, basically we are seeing very good price action, right? So we know AUD had their interest rate decision, and it showed us a little bit of strength during the week, but we are not convinced, right? With a real interest rate decision that really convinces the market, the upside would have been much, much bigger, right? We know that the Canadian dollar's monetary policy is quite aggressive, is quite strong. It's almost similar to that of the US, right? So we know the Canadian dollar's monetary policy is very strong. So the Australian dollar is no match for the Canadian dollar. Aside of that, we know AUD and CAD are both exporting countries. They are both high beta currencies. So if there is a risk on sentiment in the market, they both go up. If there is a risk off, which we are seeing for the last couple of days, weeks, and even months, right? They both go down. So risk sentiment is basically not of the most importance when you're trading this pair, right? Because they both trade the same direction when you take sentiment into account. But other than that, we see very good technicals, right? I'm not gonna bother you guys too much with the fundamentals today. I just want to go over the charts, find some setups, right? Also go over the setups that we've seen on Monday during my live stream and see what they did as well, right? So yeah, we see that this chart is still going down, right? We are still in a downtrend on the 4-hour time frame. On the daily time frame, we are also still moving to the downside, right? Still creating lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, and now a lower low, possibly a new lower high, right? What we see on the daily time frame is very important as well, right? We see this big black candle, right? This is the bearish candle, and basically we can see this candle as an engulfing candle, right? The previous bullish candle is completely engulfed, right? So it completely eats that candle up, right? And a lot more. Now, the space between this, basically the open of the previous candle and the close of this candle, this is all in balance, right? What do I mean by that? The only price action or the only orders were sell orders. So there were no buy orders offered to the market, and that's why we had a clean black candle to the downside, a strong bearish candle. Now that means that there is still a lot of imbalance in this candle. Imbalance usually gets filled, right? So the next candle starts to fill that imbalance, right? It didn't got filled completely. The next candle went a little bit down, but then filled the rest of the imbalance. And this basically today's candle did the rest of the job. It finished the job. It filled the imbalance even a little bit more, right? Usually it doesn't go further than 50% of the previous bullish candle, right? It went a little bit higher, but it didn't go higher than this candle, right? So now we can expect, now that this imbalance is filled, we can expect that price is probably going to continue back to the downside, right? The only thing that would have been better is that price retraced all the way to this sell zone, right? Or maybe to the pivot itself and then drop down. But I think the market is too aggressive, especially if we look to the fundamentals. The market is too strong. At least the Canadian dollar is too strong against the AUD. So we can expect that this will continue to the downside, right? Of course, we're not going to trade on the daily time frame. We're probably not even trading on the 4-hour time frame, right? But we need to do a top-down analysis in order to find our more precise entries on the smaller time frames, okay? So this morning, I think I shared a sell opportunity or a trade setup with my entry somewhere over here. I think we just got this reaction to the downside, right? And we were somewhere over here. So this reaction to the downside being rejected from that 50 EMA, as you can see, that wick being the candle being pushed down, rejecting from that 50 EMA, the blue line that we have over here, right? That's a good sign, right? At the same time, we are at the top of our sell zone, the top of our red sell zone, right? So this is a good area to see that kind of price action, right? Also, you have to take into account this pivot, right, is also way below this pivot. This pivot is even lower than this pivot, so that confirms our bearish bias as well, right? So we have multiple confirmations that this basically wants to go lower, right? We can try and draw a role reversal as well, right? We have a level here. This is our previous low, right? We got rejected here, which was a first good entry, but maybe that 50 EMA was a little bit too far away to enter right over here. Now, I'm going to be honest, this was probably going to be a trade, or it was probably a trade. If I would have seen it, I would have taken it, right? My stop loss was probably going to be above that red sell zone right over here, so we might got stopped out, right? I didn't took the trade, I didn't saw the trade, right? The second zone that we can draw up basically is this high, right? We can make it pretty big, right? We have a wick until here. Personally, I think it's a little bit too far, especially if we take into account this low, right? So I'm gonna draw the zone like this. So basically, once price broke this zone, right, this was our role reversal level, right? This is our first resistance that we encounter once we go up again. So this is the first entry that we could try to take a sell, right? As long as our bearish integrity zone, right? This is the next resistance zone. As long as this zone isn't broken, we are still sellers, right? From the moment that this zone is being broken by a strong candle, right? I'm not meaning a little candle and then being rejected back down, right? That still counts as a not break. That's still not a valid break. But if we see a big candle closing up here, now that's a valid break, right? And we can expect a retest, maybe this zone or this zone, and then move on higher, right? But for now, we are still sellers, we are still bears, because our previous high is still not broken. And we gotta respect market structure, we gotta respect the pivots that are still stepping down. So everything is still basically the way we want it, right? So this is good, the bigger time frame is good. Now what we are seeing right now, okay, this candle is still not closed. It's only gonna close in 45 minutes, but if this candle closes like this, right over here, right? If it closes right over here, or maybe lower, maybe a little bit less low, a bit higher, right? But if it closes something like this, we have another engulfing candle, right? What do I mean by an engulfing candle? Basically the same thing as what I showed you on the daily time frame. This candle is overlapping, it's engulfing this previous bullish candle, right? And that's a very, very big signal, right? Once we see an engulfing candle, especially on a 4-hour time frame, in a zone with the 50 EMA, the M3, right, at the top of the sell zone, role reversal level, we got a lot of confirmations, and it's just showing us that this is a hot spot, a sweet spot, where we want to see signs of the market showing us that it wants to go down, right? An engulfing candle is one of the biggest signs, and usually one of the latest, and one of the triggers, if I can call it like that, to tell us, hey, the market is showing us some bearish pressure, right? So this engulfing candle is a very good sign, especially if it closes like this. That's what we want to see. So I'm gonna remove this for a moment, right? And how do we play engulfing candles, right? Pretty easy, basically. An engulfing candle usually retraces. So let's say it closes like this. There is again imbalance in this part, right? Only sell orders were offered to the market. So usually if it closes like this over here, usually the market starts to go back up until we have a fill of that imbalance. It can go a little bit higher until the 50% of the previous candle, somewhere over here. And then usually we continue in the same direction, right? The bigger time frame, everything is showing us that it wants to go down. So if you really want a precise entry, that's where you can put your sell limit. All right, so we're gonna do that right now, but of course we are gonna go and look at the smaller time frame as well and see if we can find maybe a more cleaner entry, maybe even more clean. Yeah. So this is the fill. I'm not gonna push the limit, right? I'm not gonna push my luck. If you're saying I'm a very conservative trader, you might be able to get entered right here, right? Personally, I'm gonna put it a little bit lower. I just want to get into that trade. It doesn't matter if it's a few pips more or not. This is the trade that I want to take. This is my stop loss. Usually, basically, price cannot go higher and break these highs, because then that's just not the way we trade, right? Our target is gonna be the conservative target, right? I showed you guys why this is a conservative target. I'm gonna repeat myself because it's a very important thing to know, right? So let's say price goes down, makes a new low, starts to retrace, right? If it retraces only to the pivot, which is the horizontal black line right over here, right? If it retraces only until here, usually we go to the aggressive target, which is the bottom of the target zone, right? But for now, we went to the top of the sell zone, even a little bit higher, right? So we're only going to take the conservative target, which is the top of the profit zone, right? So we're going to put it like that. Whoa. So that's a 1 to 8 risk reward. I think that's not a bad trade, right? You can even put it a little bit further away, even like a 1 to 8, something like that. That's a pretty clean setup. If you take one trade like that, I think if you take one trade a week like that, I think you're good, right? Alexander is asking, something in the mic is cracking here with me. I'm on the latest new iPad Pro, just to inform. All right, thank you for telling me. If there's someone else with that problem, can you let me know, or does this sound good? Just let me know, drop something in the chat if sound is good. If not, I'm gonna check what it is. But thanks for letting me know, Alexander. Let's see, we had AUD CHF as well. They basically, I think I was looking at AUD JPY as well on Monday. So let's see. Yeah, so that was a trade. I think, right, you got the same. Wow, that's strange. That's weird. You guys have the same thing. Right. Let me check. Properties. Let's see. Maybe it's because my window is open. I'm gonna close the window. Maybe it's the wind. I have a pretty expensive mic, so it shouldn't be the mic. Let's see. Right. Let me know if it's yeah, maybe it's a bad connection, but I don't think so, to be honest. You were too focused. Yeah, that's good news. All right, so basically, I think it was on Monday that we were looking at this chart as well. So we had this move right to the target zone. I was telling you guys, probably we're gonna have a retracement into the sell zone and try to sell it over here. We had imbalance here, right? So basically we could have tried to sell it here, put our stop loss just above the R1. That would have worked, right? I know it was RBA meeting, so I was telling you guys as well, it's probably, all right, it's better, cool. It's probably gonna be pretty dangerous, basically, to try put a sell order right over here, because we have that RBA meeting. We're gonna have a lot of volatility, right? So it's just risking our money, and that's basically not what we want to do, right? So we had that push to the upside, but immediately we had a push back to the downside, right? And once our bigger candle closed below our horizontal line, below our pivot itself, that was a good signal to the market and a good signal to us to then expect a retracement to the pivot and then start selling. Now, we didn't got that retracement as we wanted to see it. If we go to a 1 hour time frame, I think that's very clear, right? We didn't have the push immediately. We first had a push to the upside, then we had that push to the downside, and basically we were expecting a retracement to a sell zone. We didn't got that. That's telling us that the market is too aggressive, right? AUD is pretty weak and JPY is pretty strong because there are a lot of recession fears into the market, right? When there is fear in the market, when there is uncertainty in the market, JPY is strong, right? Of course, USD in this time, USD is still the strongest, right? But CHF and JPY cannot be underestimated right now, right? So especially against AUD, CAD, NZD, I mean the high beta currencies, the risk sensitive pairs, JPY is still a good pair to trade, or good currency to trade against, right? So we're probably not going to get that trade. We're not going to get an entry. Doesn't matter, right? It did, what I drew out did happen, right? It was just a little bit later. We have the bearish cross right now as well, so that's good news. We can still expect price to drop, right? And then to retrace to the next sell zone. Then we have the first pullback in a sell zone, which is still a good sign, right? That's still what we want to see. It's not gonna happen as clean as we want it, right? Unless you got entered somewhere over here. Was there bearish divergence? No, there wasn't, right? What we can expect right now, probably this zone is gonna get broken, right? And what we can wait for right now is let price go to a target zone, right? Somewhere in that target zone, let it retrace, right? And hopefully this sell zone lines up with our role reversal zone. So basically we want our sell zone somewhere over here as well. So I'm gonna make it red for now. That's where we want to have it, right? That 50 EMA, the blue line, also needs to be somewhere in that area, right? If price drops, the 50 EMA will drop as well, right? Don't worry about that. It will follow price, right? That 21 EMA will stay below that 50 EMA. So this will basically be the first pullback in a sell zone touching that 50 EMA. That's still going to be a very good signal to us to start selling this pair, right? So I'm still a big fan of AUD JPY sell. We're just going to have to see how sentiment in the markets stays and how it develops, right? Also tonight we're going to have FOMC meeting minutes. Let's see. Where does it go? Where did it go? Gonna open up that one again. So let's see. Let's go to this week. I think it's in like 2 hours, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that time is right. Let's see, next, yeah, it's this week. All right, so yeah, Jolt's report was, we had ISM numbers coming out. Let's see how the ISM numbers were. We had a Fed speaker at 3 p.m. That's why we had some market volatility for the dollar and also for gold. Let's see, PMI numbers came out as expected. Approximately nothing major. Then we had ISM numbers, very bad. We had new orders also dropping, not good. ISM numbers are for June. PMI, a little bit better than expected, right? But don't be fooled, right? This is green. It's better than expected, but it's still lower than previous numbers. So we are basically, growth is still going down. Here we have the same thing, below expected and below the previous numbers. So basically, growth for the US is not good. Let's see, Jolt's opening. Basically, again, same thing here. It is in green, so market could, or at least unexperienced traders could say, oh, but Jolts are good. That's how many job offerings are still available in the market. There are still more than enough jobs available. That's not the problem, right? Basically, they cannot fill the job orders, the vacancies. There are too much vacancies, not enough workers. So growth is not going to expand. It's going to contract. Right, so we are going into recession. There are a lot of recession fears for the US, but also for the rest of the world, right? When the rest of the world is in trouble, the US is still going to be the strongest one, or at least the US dollar is still going to be the strongest one. Now, of course, the dollar itself is not in, they don't have the best outlook themselves, but still compared to other countries, they are still one of the best, right? So yeah, ISM numbers and growth numbers are not doing well. The USD will still be one of the strongest, right? Then we have FOMC meeting minutes. This can give a lot of volatility to the charts, guys. I mean, US 30, gold, Euro USD, dollar itself, right? Could see some volatility coming up in an hour and a half, something like that. So be careful when you're trading. I'm just gonna let's see. Where's the other one? Just gonna take a look at my chart here, right? I'm gonna close my trades on gold just real quick, right? They are closed. All right, awesome. Right, sorry guys. And yeah, of course, tomorrow is not going to be that of a highly volatile day. So yeah, we have some Fed speakers, nothing major. But then, of course, on Friday, you can expect a very, very, very slow day on Friday, at least for the dollar, right? The thing is, it's going to be very slow until NFT comes out. Here we have non-farm payrolls, average hourly earnings. Those will be the main drivers of the market, right? So until we have New York open, the market is going to be very slow. Probably gold isn't going to move much. US 30 isn't going to move much. Dollar isn't going to move much. So yeah, just so you guys know, Euro USD won't move much. Basically, all USD pairs will be very slow. Probably tomorrow and basically Friday, London session, Asian session, something like that. If you guys have any questions, if you guys want me to go over any pairs, let me know as well, right? Other than that, I'm going to continue doing some charts. We had AUD USD, basically a perfect setup on a 1 hour time frame, right? A drop to the sell zone, retracement to the pivot. We had 3 entries, guys. I don't know if you need any more, let me know. I'll ask. But I mean, 3 entries is just awesome. Not really having divergence, right? Not entering the overbought area, just not, right? But that's not a must, right? It's a nice extra, but we don't have to have bearish divergence, or we don't have to have an oversold condition, right? It's just a nice extra. But if you see something like that, here we did have bearish divergence, a double top with bearish divergence, a nice impulse to the target zone, correction into the sell zone, touching that pivot. That's a very nice trade, right? So basically, how would you take that trade? Put a sell limit or a market execution, how you want it, right on that pivot. Stop loss just above that M3, right? Make sure you count in your spread, so maybe make it a little bit bigger, right? And then basically you could go to the aggressive target because we bounced from the pivot, not went too deep in the sell zone, right? So that's a 1 to 3.8, pretty good. This will probably reach its target by the end of the day or maybe tomorrow, right? Maybe the meeting minutes, the FOMC meeting minutes will give that push that it needs, right? To continue to the downside. Again, we had the bearish cross right over here, the 21 EMA crossing that 50 EMA to the downside. went to the pivot. The first pullback into the sell zone is usually our favorite one, is usually the best one with the highest probability of success, right? So again, that AUD trade, a very, very nice one, right? Again, if you're not in that trade, don't force anything. Don't try to chase that trade. We could see a pullback again, right? And then maybe you get stopped out. Or even if you have entered here right now, your stop loss should be here or at least above that. Then the risk reward is just not worth it, right? That's a 1 to 1.3. We're not going to bother ourselves with some small trades like that, right? So that's a good trade. Anything below 1 to 3 risk reward, I'm just not going to take it. Anything above 1 to 3, 1 to 4, 1 to 5 is great, right? So keep that in mind. That trade is probably going to continue how it should go. How can you enter that trade? Because, I mean, AUD, USD is probably going to continue to go lower, right? That's my opinion based on fundamentals, or the fundamentals that I know. We have a sell zone, we have a support zone right over here. I'm going to make it, yeah, it's not really bullish because I want it to break. For now, it's still bullish, but I make my zones yellow. Because the zones that I want to break and I expect to break, usually I make them yellow, right? So that's what I'm doing right now. If it breaks, let it just continue to its sell zone, right? Make its retracement to that to that role reversal zone, right? The support that's probably gonna break right now. Let it break. Let it go to its target zone. Let it retrace to that role reversal zone. Let it create its pivot or push its pivot a little bit down, because this one is not fixed yet. It will still move, right? Not for long anymore, right? We are very close to the end of this session, right? As long as when we are somewhere over here, this pivot will be fixed. It won't move again. It will stop moving, right? So let's think about this. This is going to be the plan, right? Retracement into this zone somewhere over here, and then just continuing the trend, right? We are trend traders. We will always try to continue with the trend. We're not going to fight the trend. That's just being stupid, right? This is the path of least resistance, right? Again, that 50 EMA will probably come somewhere over here, depending, and then that 21 EMA will still continue to the downside, right? So this is an area of interest. This is where we want to take our trade to the sell side. Let's see. All right, how is Bitcoin doing? Bitcoin. Let's see. Daily time frame. We are still very low, still around 20k. It's, of course, 20k is a very psychological level. It's probably not going to break very soon, but we're not going to try to buy here, guys. We are still in a downtrend. The market is still not breaking structure to the upside. It's not showing us that it wants to go higher. Fundamentals are still not favorable for a Bitcoin buy or for crypto buys, right? We are in a financial tightening, right? Financial conditions are tightening, which basically means borrowing money is going to get much more expensive, right? Getting a loan is much more expensive. And basically central banks do that because inflation is too high. How hard are they going to bring down inflation? They are going to cut spending and they are going to kill demand, right? Basically by basically cutting the spending of consumers, they are bringing down demand. If people are spending less because they cannot borrow a lot of money that easily anymore, they're going to spend less, they are going to buy less, and then inflation is going to come down. Of course, growth is going to come down as well because of that, right? So keep that in mind. But as long as inflation is too high and the central banks are increasing interest rates and tightening financial conditions, basically trying to create less inflation, probably high risk assets like Bitcoin and the stock market is not going to see a next bull run, right? It's once the Federal Reserve and the other central banks are pivoting to a more easing policy, right? When they say, okay, everything is going down so hard, we need to do something. Inflation is back at a normal level, let's say 2%. maybe 3%, right? Then there's going to be a pivot, and they're going to say, okay, we have to change our policy back to a normalization, or basically an easing policy, or a more easy policy. And then interest rates are going to come down, borrowing money is going to get cheaper again, and people are borrowing money, putting it back into the stock market, into the crypto market, where they again get decent gains, right? That's how it's going to go. I have no doubt in that. So for now, just wait until you see some kind of a double bottom, until you see a first initial push, right? And then a pullback. That's going to be your first try. But for now, it's not time yet, right? So keep that in mind. Let's see, what else did we have? We had Euro JPY. I marked up a sell. That's what I see. I think it was on a 1 hour time frame somewhere over here. That was on Monday. Was that? It was probably Tuesday, right? The 5th, right? We are the 6th, so it's Wednesday. This was on Tuesday. I think it was Roy van Meel who shared that trade in the Discord. This was a first clean push to the downside, right? What we were expecting was, because we were in that target zone, we were expecting a pullback into the sell zone, right? Touching that 50 EMA. Look how aggressive that is. I was expecting a less aggressive move, right? So bad calculation from my side. But at least that was what we were expecting. Price didn't make a correction. It was just continuing lower. So we didn't get an entry, right? No entry is not a problem, right? It's only the only problem that we can have is an entry with a stop loss, right? And even that isn't a problem, right? If you use correct risk management, you can have 50%, 60% losses and still make a decent amount of money. So don't worry about the loss, and especially don't worry about the trade that you didn't got in, right? Now, what can we expect here? I don't think we're gonna go all the way back and retest that pivot, although it can still be. Personally, we have a support zone right over here, so let me mark that up. These are very small zones, right? We have one here, right? We have one over here, as you can see, support, break, retest. This is our previous low, right? Something like that, and now we are retesting here. I mean, these are small zones. I don't like to try our trades off of small zones. Usually what I try to find is strong zones where you can see clean rejections, strong rejections, right? Basically price going here and then making a big push to the downside. Same thing here, right? It went a little bit through, but then a strong push off from that level. Again, a strong move from that zone. That's what we want to see. In here, it's still a bit difficult, right? So I'm not a big fan of that type of price action either, because this is a falling wedge in a downtrend. Usually what that translates in is a move back to the upside. So we can still expect this pivot to get retested. It's still possible. This is also still one of the cleanest and most obvious levels that we have. So it's still possible. You could say, oh, but we are in that target zone. We're going to retrace to this zone and then continuing lower. It's possible, but for me, the risk is too big, right? There's too much space in here where price can still go to and basically fill up all of that gap, right? There's still imbalance in this move as well, so we can still go higher in that sense. I don't think so, right? Euro is basically the Eurozone is in a very bad condition. JPY is probably gonna get a little bit stronger, right? So I don't think we're gonna go all the way up here. This is still possible. This is possible as well, but it's not clear. So I'm just gonna stay away from that. The only trade that I would have taken is the retracement into this pivot or sell zone. But for now, I mean, that type of price action, it's very choppy, continuing, edging lower, nothing clear, no clear levels. So be careful, right? This zone is also being broken, but as you can see, we went immediately back above, right? We went through, but spiked back above. So that's not a good sign for the sellers either, right? We want a clean break, a strong break, and then a retracement. That's not what we are seeing right now, right? So I'm just gonna drink some water. Any questions, guys? We are almost going to that NZT cat trade that you guys shared as well. Thank you for sharing that as well in the Discord. We had also GBP CHF. So let's see what we had over there. That move didn't happen completely, right? It did fall, but it fell much slower. We went from a sell zone, so that's positive. But we didn't got the move and then the retracement. The next thing that we had was another move, right? Basically the same move, but it happened the day later to the sell zone, even broke a little bit lower than the sell zone, went to the, target zone, right? Went into the sell zone, a retracement into the sell zone, and now it's continuing as it should, as we expect as trend traders. So again, it fell, no retracement, right? It continued to fall, a retracement. I'm not going to call that a retracement. That's something very similar as what we are seeing on Euro JPY, right? So I'm not gonna take that. I'm never gonna take that. Why not? There's still too much risk that it's gonna continue and retest this pivot, right? Same as we are seeing on Euro JPY right now, at least on smaller time frame, right? It's possible that we're gonna move from here, but the risk is too high. We are seeing the same thing on GBP CHF on the 4-hour time frame, right? So for now, yes, this was a very clean entry. That was definitely an entry that I would have taken. I missed it, right? Right now, we are here back at support. We are holding support for now. If we break through, this is gonna set us up for a very clean trade. Why? Because this is a very obvious zone. It's a valid zone. It's being retested once, or being tested once, twice, and 3 times. If we're gonna break through now, that would have set us up for a very nice trade. Wait for retracement into the next sell zone, right? The sell zone is gonna come lower if we break through, right? And then just take it up for a next sell, right? That 50 EMA will continue to fall as well, something like that. So this is where we want basically a retracement. Hopefully we get some bearish divergence into an overbought area. That also shows us that we are at the end of a retracement as well, right? So this is where we want to take the sell. Let's see right over here, right? So that's a clean trade that we are waiting for. Of course, that's a 4-hour time frame, so that's gonna be a swing trade for next week, right? On a 1-hour time frame, there's not much to look at. We had an entry here today. I don't know if I would take that entry because we are so close to support. Don't sell at support, right? Just buy at support and sell at resistance. If you would always sell at resistance in a downtrend, you're probably gonna make money. If you always buy at support in an uptrend and do nothing else than that, you're probably gonna make money, right? Of course, we add some confirmations to that thesis, right? To that thinking approach, right? But basically, trading is nothing more. Just buy in uptrends on a support level and sell in downtrends at resistance. That's it, right? If you're able to do that, you're probably gonna cut out a lot of losses and probably make a lot of money, right? So that's probably your number one rule that you should think about when you're trading. Then looking at GBP JPY 4-hour time frame, again, we had that first initial push to a target zone, even a little bit deeper, right? A retracement into the sell zone right over here, the first pullback. So let me make that a little bit bigger for you guys. The first pullback after this cross, right here we had the bearish cross, the 21 EMA crossing that 50 EMA to the downside, completing its move, retracing. The first pullback after that cross in a sell zone is where we want to take that trade, right? Here we could have tried and do the same thing, right? We had an engulfing candle right over here. This big candle was engulfing this smaller candle. So what we could have tried, it didn't work out. But again, trading is just risking your money with a high probability trade, right? Does that mean that you're going to get into every trade that you try to take? No, not at all, right? But it's just trying to make as much money as possible with risking as less money as possible, right? Does that mean that you have to put your stop loss like that because you want to risk a a low amount of money. No, you have to use correct risk management and just put a logical stop loss, right? Don't try to squeeze your stop loss into a very, very small stop loss, because then usually you're just gonna get stopped out and you're gonna lose money anyway. So risk sometimes risk a little bit. You're not gonna risk more, because you're still gonna risk 1%, maybe 2%, or in my case, usually 0.5%, right? So you're gonna risk the same percentage, but sometimes you're just gonna have to use a lower lot size because you're risking a little bit more pips, right? What you could have tried was this, right? That's a 1 to 7 risk reward, almost a 1 to 8. Basically, after this engulfing candle, you could expect price to retrace, and usually it happens. It happens like 70 or 80% of the time, right? When you see something like that, it retraces, closes the imbalance of that candle, and then continues to fall, right? Probably price was too aggressive right now with all the things happening in the UK. Also, Boris Johnson is probably gonna be one of his last days as well. That's not good for the pound, so that has to do something with it, right? But that was something that we could have expected price to do. So it's just continuing to fall, and it's probably going to continue to fall to its conservative target, or maybe further, right? So we didn't get into that trade. Let's see, maybe we can find something on a 1 hour time frame for tomorrow. Again, same thing. It's the JPY strength, guys. It's just continuing to be strong. Euro JPY is not making a decent retracement. GBP JPY is not making a decent retracement so far, right? Let me see. Let me remove all drawings. We have a zone right over here. Nothing is lining up so far. We have something right over here, right? That's lining up with that. So I'm still gonna try to play off of this level, right? If we even get there. If we get there, this could be a good selling opportunity or a good zone to sell from. But for now, nothing to do here. GBP USD, again, this is on a 1 hour time frame, so this is today's entry. Just look at that. What a big impulse to the downside, breaking our previous low. So that's what we want to see when we're trading market structure, right? Our low being broken, that's good sign. If that low cannot be broken, that's basically a red flag as a trend trader, right? If you are a bear, you want that low to be broken, right? Then you want that low to get retested. Does it have to retest right on that low? No, it can go a little bit higher as well, right? That's why we are also using confluence of our pivot points, of our EMAs, just to find that sweet spot, right? Price did retrace to that low again, right? It bounced from that pivot. Our 50 EMA was very close as well. So what I very often show you guys and do myself as well is once we see that price is right over here, and basically when you see a rejection like that, you could try to put a sell limit, so a short position right on that pivot, right? Put your your stop loss just above that M3 level, which is the top of the sell zone, right? And your target is going to be the aggressive target because we are moving from our pivot, right? So that's a 1 to 4.44, right? Nice number. That's a good trade, and that's a very probable trade. Once we are 1 to 1 or 1 to 2 risk reward into profit, so usually 1 to 1, that's what I do. I move my stop loss to break even. So once price reached this level, I'm just gonna move my stop loss to break even and just gonna see what it's gonna continue to do, right? So for now, it should still be in profit as it is, right? So that's a very clean trade as well. Let's see, what is German 30 doing? Ooh, you see that, guys? That's the beauty of this strategy, right? Once you look at the charts, immediately you can see, is there something happening? Is there a trade opportunity or not? Just by looking at the 1 hour chart, I'm not looking at the 4 hour or the daily just yet, but just looking at the 1 hour time frame, I think everybody can see that we are having something nice, right? We have an impulse to the downside, breaking our lows, a very corrective type of price action, right? It's not, it's basically an impulse and then after that a correction, right? Into our sell zone. Not creating higher highs here a little bit. So I'm not going to say we have a lot of bearish divergence. That would maybe exaggerating a little bit, but we are seeing signs that the buying pressure is leaving the market, right? So we have that role reversal level, a correction, that 50 EMA acting very nicely as dynamic resistance. We have our bearish cross right over here. This is our first pullback after that bearish cross. So again, guys, this is a very nice trading opportunity. The trade would be something like that. Now, again, this is not financial advice, but this is probably the trade that I would take personally. Of course, now we have to look at the 4-hour time frame and a daily time frame as well. Why? Because this could be a target zone, right? This could be, let's see, oops. This could be a target zone on the 4-hour time frame. I'm gonna make it like that. So let's see on a 4-hour time frame, right? And again, yeah, it is pretty close to our target zone. So it's not ideal for us to be selling once we are that close to a 4-hour target zone. Does that mean that we can't go lower? No, because we moved from a pivot. So when we move from the pivot, usually we expect price to go to the aggressive target. So there is still room to fall, but the trend is still, or is already pretty mature, right? When we go to a daily time frame, we can see there is still a lot of room to fall. So that's good. It gives me some confidence, right? Only the 4-hour time frame is a bit concerning, right? But still, it's a pretty good trade. Again, it's almost 7 p.m. in the evening for my time, or my time, Belgian time. That's not the best time to start selling German 30. Just give me a sec. Right. That's not the best time to start selling German 30. Of course, we could see a move to the downside caused by the FOMC meeting minutes. If they say in these meeting minutes that they are gonna continue with an aggressive hiking path, and if they are saying we're not gonna stop until inflation falls, and probably next meeting we're gonna hike 50 or even 75 basis points, this could move the stock market to the downside. Not only US 30, also Nasdaq, German 30, UK 100, right? So German 30 is still vulnerable. The Eurozone or the German companies are still vulnerable because high energy prices. So the chances of this falling is much bigger than moving to the upside, right? Technicals are showing us the same thing. Fundamentals are showing us the same thing. So this is a pretty clean trade, right? We had this trade as well on Monday, right? I think we were somewhere over here. I think we were here, right? And I think it was Jochen who told us, hey, I'm in a buy somewhere. Yeah, we were somewhere over here. I'm in a buy because I drew that channel. I can recall that. I drew a parallel channel, right? Like that. We were somewhere over here. I told you guys, if we're gonna break, that's not gonna be pretty, right? We're just gonna continue lower. We were somewhere over here. I explained all the reasons why I think this is gonna continue lower. It bounced, right? It went up. Probably Jochen was he was thinking by himself, that stupid Sander, I should have never listened to him. But I think like 8 hours later, he was probably pretty grateful that that basically he got out of that trade, right? So for now, we broke these lows, and price is already starting to fall. We have a sell zone. This sell zone is also lower than the previous sell zone. We have the bearish cross. I'm just not gonna repeat all the confirmations, but you guys know what I mean. You also know what I'm looking for. So again, pretty nice trade. Only the time is not right, right? It's a pretty dangerous time to start selling or buying, just to trade German 30 right now. Much better is somewhere around 8 o'clock Belgian time. That's when the Frankfurt market goes open. That's when German 30 moves the best, right? But nevertheless, you can do whatever you want with that trade. Technicals are pretty nice. Nasdaq, very choppy, basically just going sideways, no clean levels to bounce or to sell or to buy from. Yeah, we have these lows. This is at those levels, but nothing clean. Gonna stay away from it. What is the daily time frame telling us? Yeah, we are at that pivot. That's good news. But other than that, there is no signs that there are clean selling levels right here, right? Then we are finally at that NZT cat where everybody was talking about. Let's see. I think it was on a 1 hour time frame that Roy showed us something. And yeah, we had bearish divergence here. That was good news, right? Creating lower lows while price was creating higher highs. So that's good sign, especially at these levels, the top of a resistance zone, the top of a sell zone as well. We had a lot of good signs. Of course, the 1 hour time frame EMAs were not that pretty. I think the 4 hour time frame was much better, right? Here we had the cross. This is the first pullback after that cross right over here, right? So that's good. That's a good zone on the 4 hour time frame. Again, we had a bounce here, we had a bounce here. So chances of a new bounce here were pretty big in a sell zone. 50 EMA acting as dynamic resistance. So we had a lot of good signs that this market was going to continue to the downside. Again, the Canadian dollar is pretty strong, right? Moving to the 1 hour time frame. I think we were somewhere over here, right? When I showed you guys, or when I dropped in the chat, hey, we are seeing an engulfing candle. Weakness is getting into this market, right? So you could get ready for a sell, right? Again, this was the aggressive entry, right? It's pretty aggressive to start selling from here. What I recommend or what I prefer is a break of the zone that we are seeing broken right now, and then a retracement retesting that zone, right? And then continuing lower, right? So that's what I'm looking for. Of course, this is the 1 hour time frame. We could scale down to a 5 minute time frame because I got that request as well in the Discord of, hey, why are we not trading on a smaller time frame? It is possible. I am doing that, right? I just don't want to confuse you guys with the strategy too fast, especially not the new guys, right? And also when I'm sharing trades like that on the 5 minute time frame, it's probably entering within the next 30 minutes or the next hour or next 2 hours, right? And not everybody has that luxury to check his phone or her phone or desktop or charts every 1 hour or 2 hours, right? So that's why I'm not a fan of sharing trades on the smaller time frame, because sometimes it's a bit on a short notice. But again, nevertheless, what we are seeing here, this zone is being retested already once. That doesn't mean that we can't go higher for a second time. So still, this is the area where we want to sell from. This is our sell zone, 50 EMA right over here right now. We can penetrate that 50 EMA a little bit. That's not a bad thing, right? We have the bearish cross right over here. This would be the first pullback after that bearish cross. So this is setting up for a very nice sell, right? Especially if you take a look at the bigger time frames, coming from a 4 hour time frame, 1 hour time frame, showing us good signals, good signs that is want to go lower, then we just have to scale down and do the same thing, right? We are always looking for the same thing. We're looking for market structure, a break of structure, what we are seeing right here, not with a small candle, but with big candles, a very confirmed break, right? And now a retracement, right? This can just consolidate a little bit, maybe get one spike right into that sell zone. That's all we need, right? Consolidate. Once we are here, just sell the heck out of it and then take it to the sell zone on the 5 minute time frame, which could give you already like a 1 to 4, probably something like that. Stop loss just above that M3 level, right? Target zone, we're gonna go to the aggressive target for now. That's a 1 to 4.5. Not bad, okay? But if you use the same entry with the same stop loss, but instead of using the target zone of the 5 minute pivots, you go to a 1 hour and, that's funny enough, but it's the same target zone for now, right? But it's also a 4 hour target or a 4 hour trade, right? It's also a swing trade. So with that 5-minute stop loss, even when you take the conservative target, and we should take the conservative target because we are not bouncing from the pivot, we are going a little bit deeper, right? We can take the conservative target, and now our risk reward, it's much bigger, right? It's a 1 to 13 risk reward. So it's your choice. If you want to take the 5-minute time frame, take your profits and run with it, right? That's never a bad thing, right? You can't go broke on profits. But if you really want to push it, and it's possible, right? The probability is there. You could push it all the way to the 4-hour target, which is right over here. So that's possible as well. The choice is all yours, and it's just depending on your risk appetite. Okay. AUD JPY, I think we had that one, right? We covered that one in the beginning of the session. We are waiting for a break right now. So AUD JPY is at support right now. We want it to break, complete its move to the target zone, retrace to the role reversal level, hopefully in a sell zone. This sell zone, right, should be over here by then. That 50 EMA should continue to fall, but not too fast, right? Act as dynamic resistance. This is where we want to look for a sell, right? So you were doing NZT CAD, still a very favorable trade, guys. I mean, it's a 1 to 13. You don't have to push it. You can take partials along the way as well and still end up with a nice profit, okay? Other than that, maybe we can take a look at gold, because that's a big move, right? I'm not gonna lie. These are big moves. I didn't expect this move to fall that fast and that hard, and then it just took a little breather right over here, and it continued to fall, right? No retracement, just continue to the next target zone. That's pretty insane. That's a lot of pips, especially on gold. Right now, what we can expect is a retracement to this sell zone, probably M3, right? And then continuing to fall, probably. Yeah. Wow. Already way past this one. And I think I shared that on Monday, right? On Monday, we were here. I told you guys we broke this low, right? Right over here. So this was a low, right? But this was the most recent low. And usually that low is more relevant, right? This is the closest low, but this is the most recent low. The most recent low is usually the most relevant, right? So we went to retest that low together with that pivot, right? Rejection all the way. I mean, this is a very clean impact strategy that you should take if you're following the impact strategy. This is a trade that you need to take. It's just doing your job, executing right at the pivot. Let's see, short position right on that pivot, sell zone or stop loss just above that sell zone, target zone, the aggressive target, a 1 to 3.7. Maybe if you scale down to a 1 hour time frame or a 5-minute time frame, you could have gotten a lot more out of that trade. But I mean, a 1 to 3.7 is a decent trade, right? Of course, you can take it further if you're using the parabolic SAR, right? I have it somewhere over here. I think, yeah, here it is. I think I'm gonna explain the parabolic SAR next time. It's also a way of using your stop loss. It's just moving your stop loss. So the parabolic SAR is printing dots, right? If we go to a 1 hour time frame, let me delete these EMAs for a second and these pivots, right? So basically what this does is it plots dots on your chart whenever a candle closes. So if this candle closes, this dot plots or is getting plot on the chart. And what basically you can do is just move your stop loss along with these dots, right? And basically we would have taken that trade up until here, and then the next candle would have taken us out, right? But sometimes you can ride a move for a very, very long time because it's never pulling back until the dot, right? And that's also a very good way of moving your stop loss. It's a manual trading stop. Of course, you need to manage your trade very, very actively, right? It's not something that you can do when you're working a 9-to-5 job, because then I think your boss won't be that happy. But when you're at home and when you're looking at the chart, you can move your stop loss with the dots, right? That's also a very good strategy to move your stop loss, right? You can also put that parabolic SAR on your chart on your mobile phone as well normally. So that's also an option, right? But for now, gold is a bit tricky to basically trade, right? What are the correct settings for the parabolic SAR? So my settings are, I think it's pretty standard. The settings that I have, it's it's just 0.02, 0.02, and then the max value 0.2, and the style, it's I think it's just all default. It's pretty standard. The only thing that you need to figure out for yourself and basically is what time frame am I gonna manage it, right? Default says 1 point. Yeah, that's the same. That's the same. And maximal 0.2. Let's see. Yeah, max value is 0.2. So yeah, it doesn't matter if I put a 0 behind it. That's just the same thing, right? But what you have to figure out for yourself, what I do, I can give you my recommendation. I usually, when I'm trading on the 4-hour time frame, I'm usually using the 1-hour time frame dots. When I'm using or trading the 1-hour time frame, usually I use the 30-minute dots. So probably you'll get it. If you trade the 15-minute time frame, you're going to use the 5-minute dots. If you trade the 5-minute chart, you're probably going to use the 1-minute dots. That's usually how I use them. I use them one time frame lower than the time frame that I'm trading on, right? So if we find a swing trade on the 4-hour time frame and we enter that swing trade with our stop loss somewhere over here, I'm usually going to go to a 1-hour time frame and use the 1-hour dots. Every hour a new dot will get plotted, right? And I'll use that dot as my stop loss. And that way, sometimes you'll get stopped out sooner than just a fixed TP and a fixed stop loss, right? But sometimes you can ride some trends or some moves for a very long time, right? Last one that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do two more. I'm going to do oil and US 30. So again, US 30, very similar to German 30. I'm going to use my pivots again and the EMAs as well. 50 EMA for now is good. So again, what did we expect here on Monday was after a double top, a break of structure. We didn't got that break, nor did we got a pullback after the break. So basically that wasn't an entry, right? So we can, that orange zone was basically my expected sell zone. We didn't got there, right? This was our sell zone, so no sell, right? Then we did break it, right? And we did retrace into a sell zone. So basically what I drew out right over here basically happened the day after. It didn't happen in this day, it happened here. So still this move is basically, or this trade setup is still valid and is still very much in play, right? Of course, we have to take into account today in a couple of minutes, in 50 minutes, we have FOMC, the meeting minutes, right? So it's a bit dangerous, right? But still we can see that move to downside. Technicals hasn't changed, right? Probably the market is just waiting today on those FOMC meeting minutes to come out. Probably they are going to be hawkish as they expect them to be, so that could move US 30 more to the downside, right? So this setup is still valid. We just have to wait until those meeting minutes come out, because they could spike a little bit higher, right, and then move down. So I don't want to get it. I don't want to be in the markets when that happens, right? But still, this is still very much what I expect from it. Where is my short position? Right over here, something like that is still very possible. Okay, probably only to here. That's a 1 to 3. That's somewhere on the border of it's worth the risk, right? But it's not worth the risk right now, right? Because the risk of a spike and reaching our stop loss is too high, so I'm not going to take that risk right now, right? So that's something that you have to consider as well. Is it worth the risk to reward? But it's also, is there going to be high volatility? How's the probability, or how high is the probability that my trade is going to hit stop loss or its TP? How high is the probability for success? All right. It's not only looking at the risk reward, it's also looking at the probability. If you mix probability with risk reward and you both have good numbers, right, then everything should be fine on the long term. Going to WTI or XTI, crude oil, West Texas crude oil. Let's see, 4-hour time frame. Wow, we are seeing some downward momentum, and that's very strange for me. Technicals are saying we have a role reversal level here. This is also a recent zone. We have a sell zone here, right? We are in a target zone. We even are beyond our target zone. So selling is very dangerous right now. Buying is not the best thing you can do in a downtrend, right? This is a knife that's falling. You don't want to catch a falling knife. But this is very favorable for us. If we get a decent retracement overnight during the Asian session, this would be a very clean opportunity for us to sell from. Right? Back to the target zone, of course, right? Continue the trend to the downside. We're also seeing basically 102 right over here, a psychological level being created, or at least it's always there, but we have to take that into account as well. Psychological level, 50 EMA will start to flatten out a little bit as we see price going up, right? So this is possibly gonna happen. So we have again a couple of confirmations. How is that 21 EMA looking at? No, that's the 5 EMA. That's a 200. All right, so that's the one. The bearish cross basically it never crossed, so this was a bearish cross, so it's not going to be the first pullback after a bearish cross, so that's nothing to take into account. But yeah, oh, this is for next week, so yeah, that's a trade for next week. I was thinking for a second that we were on the 1 hour time frame. On the 1 hour time frame, yeah, nothing to do here. We have bullish divergence, right, creating a lower low against this low, but here we are seeing on the RSI not a lower low, a higher low basically. So basically that's showing us that selling pressure is leaving the market, so we just take the swing trade setup for this one. So yeah, I think that was a pretty clear session, guys. If you have any questions for me, drop them in the chat. Otherwise, yeah, we'll talk in the Discord, share some setups. If you are sharing setups that you are not 100% convinced of, don't be afraid sharing them, right? When I give my advice or my feedback on those, you'll learn from them, right? That's the fastest way to learn, but also other people will learn from them, right? Not everybody has the confidence of sharing their trades or sharing their setups in the Discord. Just do it, right? It's never going to be perfect, so don't wait for the perfect time, right? Just do it, and then you'll create perfection while doing it, right? So yeah, if there are no questions, I'm gonna wrap up the call. I appreciate everyone being on the call. I appreciate everyone being involved, asking questions. So yeah, thanks for hopping on, and we'll talk soon, guys. Next.
Import to export, transport to export. A nigga still breathing today, cause the vest caught them slugs. You spit at me now, get at me if you want more. Sick with a fucking hole up in your back, so what's the first for? Come on, baby, we some noise Vegas. Catching niggas with bricks and I'm coming through Las Vegas. Latest, wanted dead or alive. Well, mad niggas hit list, but ain't a motherfucker come to get this. Witness was unheard of, cold-blooded murder. This hot shit'll have you smelling like a fucking burger. And the cell from the 12 is all it takes to make a nigga spin like twice. If you fall, you call for help, but ain't none coming. The ass man started a robbery and done running. And when I'm done gunning, we all gon' meet up at the club, fucking
You motherfuckers think the wash is long soap and sub. What's up, good? If you're trying to get a dub sack page, man, the whole say D-Lo, you so crazy. Poppin' that shit don't phase